Hello, everyone. So I hope you can hear us. We have Pankaj with us today. We'll start in 2 minutes. Hey, hi, Pankaj.
Hello, hello. Hi, everyone.
Quick check, Pankaj. Just go to the channel and let's see if we are live or not.
I don't think so. Not right now, I
We
guess.
are, we are, we are. I can see it
Okay,
on.
okay.
So there's two people watching. More should join. It's up in the chat. So hello, everyone. Okay, we are live on what places? We are live on Facebook also and YouTube also. This is two places.
Oh, okay.
We will know how many people are joining or watching very soon. So let's just hold on for 5 minutes and then we'll start.
Sure, yeah. Yep.
So make sure that you plug in your two phones.
Yeah.
Slide can be just off. Too much yellow. Oh my God. Okay, so let's see now. So we are just another 2 minutes to begin. Let's see how many people we have. Not many people. Okay, there's four people watching. That's good. So basically, Pankaj, the maths is like this. If the stream runs for about 30 minutes and 20 people watch, that's 600 hours.
Oh, wow. Oh,
No, 60. No,
60, yeah.
600.
2600, yeah.
600. No, that's 600 minutes. So that's 10 hours. Sorry, both of us are wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's always a good idea to put your own phones and your own devices for new creators like me to be able to get more views and subscribers and like whatever. Cool. So we will start in another minute.
Sure.
And if we get good traction, so we will then try to make this series a more permanent one, or we could do more series with similar topics in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have everybody is visible. We are audible. Camera positioning needs to be corrected, but after today, I should have a better tripod and I will be able to stand with that. Now there is some problem with it with my camera. Cool. So we are nine. So let's get started. So hi everyone. Before this, we were doing a bit bucker. Now me and Pankaj will start. So let's get quick introduction. So I'm Akash Verma. I am going to be interviewed by today. I am though the host for the channel, but Pankaj and I are collaborating. Quick introduction about me. I'm a solution architect working across domains. I have close to 11 years of experience. Currently, I'm designing machine learning systems, but I've had a variety of experience. I'm not, let's say, always been doing ML. So I've done a bit of traditional software development, like legacy systems, like mainframes. Then I've done some app development, modern web design services, app services, microservices stuff. A lot of infrastructure on cloud, spanning over close to 7, 8 years, predominantly Azure and other tech stack. Then I've done a couple of years of a consulting, but for the past 4, 5 years, predominantly into AI and system design using AI. So different kind of use cases in AI. We'll talk about that some other day. Today we'll talk about solution architecture with my friend Pankaj. Pankaj, over to you for a quick, large introduction about yourself. Please talk about what you like. Thank you for taking time to join on Cafe IO. This is the first of podcasts of many to come, hopefully. And do introduce yourself, Pankaj.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So, this Pankaj, I have been working as a solution architect for around like 7.5, 8 years now. And I started with legacy HR systems and then slowly, gradually moved into like Java programming and then solution architecture. So, I have also quite a variety of experience when it comes to say like Java systems, cloud architectures, some big data, and some ML system design. And then recently, I've been working on say cloud migration projects plus some of the automation kind of projects, automation architecture, uh, basically process automation. So that's all about me. Over to you.
So Pankaj and I have collaborated and worked together in the first company that I worked with, Food, and is now again back there. I'm not. We are not currently working together with the same company, but I think we have been in touch for close to what? How many years?
I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years now,
Oh,
maybe
more than that. More than
little more
that.
than that.
Little
Yeah,
more than that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I close to 7 8 years we have been knowing each other. So yeah, that's the kind of collaboration I have with Pankaj, and we have been exchanging solutions. So today we'll talk about solution architecture. I'll pass on to you, Pankaj, to shoot the questions back. Maybe you can give a summary of the things that we'll talk, and people on the chat. It's not a Q&A, it's a conversation. So Pankaj is going to put some queries out, which I'll try to answer in some form, but feel free to post questions on the chat. I'm monitoring the chat as well. So if you are a kid, if you are an aspiring architect, or if you think you want to listen on any other topic, please do drop in to chat. Pankaj, over to you.
Yeah. So let's start with the agenda today. What we'll talk about today is like get an sense of like what solution architecture is. Basically, starting from the overview, challenges that we have day to day, ins and outs, and then finally we'll look into uh, like we'll look into like what one needs to kind of prepare to take up the role, like whether if you are a developer or like a senior developer or a junior developer, or maybe you are in a technical side of things, or strategy side of things. So let's start this out. So let me ask you, Akarsh, like according to you, like define solution architecture. What according? So let's start with that. Like define solution architecture, like what it is first.
Okay, so I would go on to say solution architecture is a combination of lot of different things. Let's try to go and first look at the role. I think I try to look at the role first, and then I'll try to go on to defining what solution architecture is, because there's a couple of conjoining rules. So a solution architect is somebody who, in my view, brings together the overall solution into a nice little package. We call the deliverable solution architecture. Now, what I mean by that is that there could be different dimensions when a problem is being solved, right? We have, the business problem, first of all. You have data, you have technology, you have integration, you have interoperability, you have different upstream, downstream systems, or in general, the nature of problems could be plenty, right? What an architect or a solution architect typically does is he sits at the center and tries to bring together the best of all worlds, tries to coordinate with most people, or with a lot of people, and then extract the core essence, which you can say is the architecture requirement. And then in consultation with different working groups such as enterprise architecture, technology architecture, subject matter experts, a lot of times senior developers tries to build in a system view and the solution architecture of the system. So that's how I define around it. That's how I define solution architecture. So in a nutshell, it's a integration role. Predominantly, you bring in lot of different information from lot of different places and packets, and try to stitch them together so that they can holistically solve the problem. So it's a techno functional role, depending on when we are having the conversation about an architect, depending on the time of the year. Sometimes over the span of a project, the work that you're doing could change. So the balance on business could be heavy on the initial days, but the balance on technology could be heavy towards the mid or of the project, and then towards the end you could have it a completely different role. So yeah, that's how I would define it.
I think that's a pretty apt like definition. So because I think I also have the same thinking in a way, like you do need because some people do think like it's only a technical role, like you just need to kind of make a system according to the non-functional requirements. But we also have to kind of think about the functional requirements. But that's very aptly put. Like we have a goal first to make a system with the functional requirements, and then basically non-functional requirements come in, and then you make a system. Yeah, that's a pretty apt discussion. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So please go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, that's very true. I want to weigh in on something. So I think the word solution sometimes I feel is misleading. People expect that
Exactly. Yeah.
you give a problem, you get a solution. That's not, uh, the solution doesn't come from the person. It's not a know-it-all role. It's in fact one of the few roles where I think you can keep on growing for very large number of years, and the learning could be challenged every single year, multiple times in a year. Throughout my experience of close to like 7 years or 6 years being an architect, I think every year it has been a new learning. Every year I've learned something new, not just from a people standpoint, people, technology, business, everything. You keep learning. So that's what it is, and you gotta bring together a lot of different aspects to build a solution. It cannot be only the technical aspect, it cannot be the data aspect, it cannot be the infrastructure. So you are not a technical architect, you're not an infrastructure architect, you're not a business architect, you're not a data architect, but you're expected to talk to all of them and understand what they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Exactly.
how I'll want to put it.
Actually, you touched a really good point about the learning every year, like becomes different, and every project we take, like a solution architect takes, actually has some has very steep learning curve, some has very like low learning curve. But the thing to note here is like there's a lot of learning curve attached to this particular role, be it technically, be it functionally. Say today we are working for say any customer direct to customer application, like B2C application. In some cases we will be working with B2B application or something like that, or any other project that works like that. So it becomes very important to kind of learn and open to basically solution architect should be kind of open to learn. But yeah, that's really well put.
True.
Okay. So let me ask you, because I think there is a lot of like dilemma around this. What is the difference between enterprise architecture, enterprise architect, or a solution architect and technical architecture? So how would you clear that out?
So it's a very so I have been an EA for some time. In fact, I'm a trained, and I think both of us are trained and certified enterprise architects. So
Yeah.
I think I'll try to answer that with my experience. I've done largely solution architecture, couple of years of enterprise architecture. So EA, I think, is inclined more towards business. I think their core goal is much towards strategy and business alignment, goal alignment. The what is the question they are trying to answer. The how so much is with solution architects in consultation with them. So let's say if we have a problem of technology management, if you want to decide a technology in a project, EAs would not be the one deciding it. However, EAs would definitely have a point of view into how the technology decisions should be taken. For example, you want to buy a COTS product versus an open source product versus a paid subscription or a paid product. So EA will have a point of view in there. Having said that, the more strategic goals are aligned by the EAs, and more execution level goals are aligned by the SA. So if it's a migration project, I think EAs will have a say in whether the migration should happen or not, but SAs are
Yeah.
the one who will execute the migration. If it's a new app development, I think EAs are the one who will help you understand whether the app should be created or a subscription should be purchased, or the functionality should be merged with some different uh, product line or a application, versus development of something new. So EAs control it more at an enterprise level, and SAs control it more at an implementation project execution level. That's how I differentiate. You also asked about technical architect, right? Did you say that?
Yes. Yeah, because some many people confuse between solution and technical access. So
So
I think
I
that's
think I personally don't draw that very strong line. I think an SA is a technical architect, but a technical architect might not be an SA.
yeah, agree. Yeah,
So it's a bit of overlap between the roles. So lot of essays have good technology background. They have a
yeah,
T-shaped skill where a certain technology could be very depth. In fact, a lot of essays that I've encountered come from Java world. They are very seasoned technical architects, and they have moved
true.
up the
Yeah,
ladder into solution architecture, right? Because Java has typically been the language for enterprise app development,
yeah,
and that progression naturally grew with number of years experience and hierarchies into architect roles, like that. But having said that, I think a technical architect is somebody who specializes in one or multiple technologies. uh, I personally don't think you can specialize in technologies per se. You can specialize in certain aspects of that technology, for example. uh, and time is also an important factor. For example, if I'm working on Azure, from my experience of working with Azure, event driven is very popular nowadays, right? You have a
yeah,
lot of serverless designs, lambdas, which was not the case 5 years back. Nobody
true.
wanted to talk about that. I think I first started talking about Kubernetes in 2017, and it was like, okay, let's see what it is, right? Now everybody is adopting it. So at some point in time, you could master a technology and use it and call yourself a technical architect. But if you stop using it, it's highly likely that the technology life cycle will move forward than your own knowledge.
That is, I completely agree because there is a if you see the shift in technology as you said, like firstly we used to have like just ETLs. Now going from ETL integration to directly like real time integration, and that is a huge learning curve. And there is a pivot point within time that everybody should recognize, like, hey, technology is shifting very fast, so we need to shift, move along with that. Yeah, that's true. Please go ahead.
So I think technology architecture is very, very well defined. Uh, you know, Cloud vendors do provide certifications for solution architects, but it essentially means you're a solution architect for a certain cloud. However,
Yeah,
having said that, if you have worked through that cloud, you automatically understand the nuances of it. Clearing the certification or giving the exam becomes a matter of well educating yourself and proving the fact.
yeah,
More so, if you have worked with multiple clouds, you will automatically understand that most of them work together from a solution architecture standpoint. But from a technology architecture standpoint, they could be very different. For example, I want to design a system where I want to implement authentication. Authentication in Azure is AD. Awesome. Great. I understand bit of AD groups, AD, provider, auth, blah, blah, blah. AWS has a different service called Cognito. Now, with enough time at hand and tinkering, you can figure it out.
yeah,
But it's a whole together different matter of figuring out every services associated in the cloud. So what I'm trying to say is solution architects work more at a conceptual level and at a pattern level. Enterprise architects I've already defined, and technology architects are very, you know, very specialized. So I think EA, SA, TA, each of them have their own career progressions, I would say.
yeah. Actually, that's very true. Okay,
Normally,
so
EAs, I think TAs and SAs can bounce off in between, but a person who has always been an EA might find it very hard to become a TA. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it might be challenging
that's
because
not.
it's a very different kind of a jump. And same is true for a technology architect might find enterprise architecture, for the lack of a very better word, very boring.
Yeah, true. No, actually, most of the actually transitions you see are basically from technology to solution
Say,
itself. I think
yeah.
most of the companies are, but the enterprise to so I think there's also something like many solution architects also become enterprise architect. I don't know,
No, true.
maybe yeah, something like that. But yeah, your overall like generalization, like strategy level, logical system design level, and then basically particular technology architecture level. Yeah, I think that still works. Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
so I think one of the important thing is like when you're working on a project is like delivering a project. So how where does so according to you, like where does a architect sits and integrates with the team, especially in this today agile environment?
And very very valid question. Let's try to see something. I like to answer this question with some content from Scaled Agile framework.
Yeah, that would
There's a
be good.
very nice slide. I'll just bring it up. Just give me a second. So while it comes up, okay. Uh, save. Yeah, got it. Is my screen visible?
Not right now. And now I think it's
It is.
yeah.
Cool. So scaled agile has this concept of my screen is visible, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think you
So
need to a
scale
little bit zoom up. Yeah.
zoom in
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, I think this should be fine. Yeah.
So scaled agile has this concept of an architectural runway, and there's a very clear distinction when it comes to product. Though this is not from a product conversation perspective, product teams have well just architects. I don't think a product architect is a designation which has been very well defined yet, because a product architect would be a mixture of SA and TA in my view. So in scaled agile, there's a concept of architecture runway, and system architect is a very well defined term. So what they have is this architecture runway works something like this. These are different enablers which the architect helps support. Now, at different point in time, different enablers could be required. Now, earlier in the project, you'll need more enablers, and enablers are typically, well, setting up of DevOps, setting up of infrastructure, setting up of solution, defining the interop, and all of that. So, I think in a product conversation, it's very important to have this notion, because the same concept can be, in my view, transposed onto product, because products follow similar roadmaps. Products will have features, and you can always plan out certain features in advance, and you might be able to you know work with something, what do we say, uh, you might be able to work with something which is more practical. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna pause my camera for a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. So yeah, so given this, it's very much possible to think in this way and in terms of enabler. So I think a architect in a product conversation is effectively an enabler. So when we have different product teams, I think we could have product architects who are looking and scouting out for features, and working upwards from there.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
yeah.
Then there's a question in the chat I want to take. So somebody says, I'm a backend developer, and if I want to switch my role to solution architect, what prerequisite I have to know? I think the answer lies in the fact that you have to first understand system design well. The nuances of system is are very important. You must understand different constructs any system has, not just a certain kind of a system, but multiple systems. So when you study different kind of systems, you tend to understand and notice patterns. So that is a skill. I'll probably list some soft skills. A very curious attitude. B, the ability to learn, and C, the ability to chase something down to the very last level of detail. I think these three skills, if you have as an early developer, you should be able to more gradually move forward. From a technology standpoint, you should study patterns. Uh, some certain popular patterns could be around microservices, web services, because web is very popular these days. And within them, you could try and understand like what is basic MVC. You could understand database integration patterns and things like that. So patterns are where I would say start if you want to grow as a solution architect, and a good understanding of infrastructure would also help. So yeah, those few things I'll want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
back to you, Pankaj.
yeah, so I think about the question, like if you want some resources, so I think there are some resources with there is some very good book on by Martin Klapman, which is like designing data intensive systems. That will be very helpful when you look into system design, and plus system design interview, grokking system design. There are some really good content out there. Like if you want to kind of look into it, like you can have a look, and then that can basically provide you basics of system design and what do you basically do. Yeah. Okay. So I think moving on. So next question that I have for you is like from a okay, I think there's a technical glitch. So we'll wait for others to join.
Can you hear
Are
me?
you back?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry
Okay.
about that. I think my camera is acting up.
Oh, okay.
Don't
No
worry
issues.
about
So
it.
I
In
think
case it goes, my audio is here. Please shoot your next question.
okay. I think next question is like from any company perspective, like be it like a smaller company, bigger enterprise. Why does solution architect make sense? Like,
I think an essays or very senior subject matter experts, I will say, because they are also solution architects for those systems. Essays help maintain sanity in the system. I think of it at that as that way.
yeah,
Because in so much chase of delivery, essays are the people who should ideally run parallel to delivery. And given their ability to run parallel to multiple deliveries, they are able to standardize things across. Otherwise, every application and system will have it their own way, and because of their delivery timelines and whatsoever be the reason, price is a big conversation in these things, right? Uh,
yeah.
it could derail the overall enterprise strategy. So I think it makes a lot of sense to have essays in the system. Someone who could maintain a view of the application landscape, someone who could maintain a view of the infrastructure landscape, someone who
Yeah.
can ensure that the tech debt within systems is not growing, at least if not reducing immediately. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I think I'll second your point of view on tech debt first, because I think as companies are modernizing, this tech debt is becoming more and more visible. Because I think earlier the system was just running, and once it keeps running, nobody cares. Until you have to
True.
do something about it, say modernize to cloud, then you try to see, then you basically see like how much tech debt you have accumulated when you were implementing all the features, because that's what I have experienced. Like many of the systems have lots and lots of tech debt, be it using like legacy technology, or like not doing like tech debt standards, so something like that. I think that is a point, like I think every solution architect basically should work more on from in these days. That's what I feel, because I think companies are more doing like cloud migrations these days. I think they're focusing on digitization and cloud migration. So I think those are really good. And regarding like holding, conforming to different standards, totally agree. I think that that is a job that somebody has to do, and solution architect is best place to do that. Yeah, completely agree.
I'm sorry, I had to switch my cam, and I'm sorry for the shitty cam. The battery died. I'll have to take care of it in the future. Go on.
Yeah, no issue. So now let's take something from your experience. What does like a solution architect day to day looks like? Like
But
can you?
that's
Yeah,
it depends on what kind of a day it is, because sometimes it's. I'll start with a good one. Sometimes it's relatively lean when delivery is full throttle. When something is really close to production, I think, and it's going smooth, then the essays and the product people have done their job right, and I don't think essays have a lot that time. But in a day, I'll tell you a couple of stand-ups, depending on what state the project is. If you are part of multiple application teams, then uh, I tend to avoid stand-ups because then they get too operational for me. If I'm part of few teams, then I try to join the stand-ups to be updated, depending on, because if there is less application, it means the size of the app is large, right? So I want to stay more updated on that. So it depends. There's stand-ups usually. There's usually conversations around some or the other technology or some experiment always running, which is POCs. So 20-30% every single day. At least throughout my career, I could say that have always gone for POCs. One POC or the other.
yeah,
Either I'm executing it, or we are starting it, or we are talking about it, or we are finishing it. So some stand-ups, some time for POCs, and then there's a bit of 1 to 2 to 3 hours I try to keep for myself into just to make sure whatever we are doing is in line with what the industry is doing. Specifically because I'm in ML right now, so the industry changes pretty fast in this side of things. So I'm always trying to keep myself up to date with that, and it's not really learning; it's more towards whatever solutions and practice I suggest. I try to validate it. So that's couple of hours, and then it's usually meetings around requirements or the other. So this is what an average day looks like. So 15%, 10 to 15% stand up, 20 to 30% POCs. The next 30% would go about some research and work deliverables, and 20-30% would be few other meetings. So usually it's a lot of meetings. Sometimes I have full days worth of meetings. But yeah, that's is the life you have chosen. It's a very
yeah. That's
individual contributor kind of a role. So you are usually part of multiple different conversations. Some of the days I'll have meetings like every single 30 minute is a different conversation. So I
yeah.
will just write off what is being talked about, and then hopefully after a day or two or the next day, if it is free, try to clean it up. So that happens a lot.
Okay. Because what I also think is like for a solution architect, it is very important to kind of spend time on learning some functional, learning about the functional domain that that he or she might works in. Yeah, you were saying something.
I personally am not, though I have worked across few domains, but
Yeah.
I am personally not from this line of thought of learning domains. Though
Okay.
I am fascinated by some domains like finance, but I have worked across manufacturing, retail, CPG, uh, paints, automotive. So I've worked across domains. So domain knowledge definitely helps in, and I think manufacturing is a good example of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
With manufacturing projects, specifically if you're working with plants, you have to be aware of the OT landscape, which is operational technology, which is the plant
Exactly.
setup, and that's completely different from IT, uh, the usual IT setup. So yeah, I'll say that. So I am not a big proponent of the domain, but I do like some domains, and the domains which I like, I tend to enjoy. I am somebody who focuses 30% on the requirements to be able to extract my system pattern needs, and then
Yeah.
70% on the non-functionals.
Okay, because from my perspective, what I think is at least a solution architect should at least be familiar with the processes, or like to see what is the basically system going to support whatever we are designing. So
So
so until
that is
yeah,
given for sure.
yeah,
Totally
yeah.
true.
So, yeah, so I think that's one, and the second thing what I also feel important is like the research part that you rightly said, like the solution architect should actually spend time in learning about newer ways to do things that we are doing now, like how can we innovate and deliver more value wherever we work. But basically, yeah, that
No,
that's what I
totally
feel.
correct. I think that's something they should definitely try to do. Domain knowledge helps. I'm just not very active. So I like finance domain. So if it's something in
Yeah.
finance, I will definitely pay very close attention to. Try to
Okay.
understand what's being built, the product side of it. But I think now, and I think it's also to do with the fact that in ML, most of the problems, ML itself has become a very domain in itself. I don't know if that's the
Yeah,
right
yeah.
way to call it.
You can call it
Uh,
like.
so that is what I fancy. So more functional domains, if you're trying to talk about, I don't fancy them much. Like I was trying to understand a lot of banking processes, but I got really
Yeah.
seriously bored. But yeah, there's a lot of architects who are very heavy on the functional side, so why not?
Oh, okay. Great. I think let's move on. There's a lot of discussion
Sure.
we have done on this. And then, so yeah, what are the various challenges that you would like to describe that a solution architecture will face, whether working in any size company, like from small to big enterprise?
I will say the biggest is noise. There's a lot of noise. And what I mean by noise is you're part of too many conversations to try and figure out the requirement. So the ability to filter up the noise and gather requirements is a very core skill set that I think, and that is one of the most important challenge that I think I have faced. Because
Okay.
people are very passionate about the functional side of it because that's where
Yeah.
most business leaders see values and they'll try to talk about how they want to do customer acquisition, how they want to do handle the customer, how they want to improve the retention, how they want to sell the product, so forth, so on and so forth. But I think it's very difficult to grab them and say, hey, can you tell me a bit more about on what kind of user interface do you want to capture the lead generation? So
Yeah.
they'll be like, okay, it should be something mobile or app. But then you want to talk about what sort of mobile app are we talking? What are the, what sort of UI are you imagining? Why a native app? Why not a
Yeah.
mobile web? And a lot of times, I think this is the first challenge. And second is, I have seen a lot of leadership. They attend, and there's a lot of buzz conversation happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when I started my career, I still remember a slide that IoT was supposed to take the world by storm by 2017.
Yeah. True. True. Yes.
And this is 2011. And I was like, wow, $5 trillion and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That never happened. Still, we
Agree.
can see that. So there's a lot of blockchain with blockchain, right?
Yeah.
Crazy hype. So the Gartner style of things. So there's a lot of hype that gets picked up and gets thrown downwards that hey, we want to do something in ML. So that's the second challenge, which I think is very important. So people trying to find technologies and use them to solve something. The problem needn't exist, but they
Yeah.
want that because of the coolness factor and the sell factor associated with it. So that's the second challenge.
Because I think when you talk about AI and blockchain, I think some of the companies just added the name blockchain and their shares shot up like anything. I remember, like, I don't know the name of the
Yeah, that
company, but
happens.
yeah,
I think it's an industry that we understand, but I find it a challenge. Do I understand why that is needed? Yes, absolutely. If
yeah,
I
true.
would be in their position, I would want to do the same thing, right? I would want to sell my product
Yeah,
because it's a very cutthroat competition for them, right? It's not that I don't
yeah,
understand, but I am empathetic to them, and at times I try to educate, but at times I have to accept that let's try to. push AI somehow in this,
Yeah, yeah,
or
true.
whatever tech is that. The same was with cloud in very early days. People will, I don't know, have a load balancer and a server and be happy with the fact that we are on cloud. So it's the
Yeah.
hype cycles that are the challenging for me.
I think another one thing that I feel challenging is, even though you know this solution is going to work, it's very hard sometimes to kind of get the consensus of the stakeholders involved.
So true, very true.
That
Consensus
is,
is, I think, the third problem I'll put.
yeah,
Actually, consensus might be the first problem.
the first problem exactly. That should be the first problem. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't think of that. So that it's so common that I don't think of it separately. I think it's
Exactly.
part of the job.
Yes, it's a part of the job. Like, I don't know, because when sometimes I work on some project and try to make them understand, like, hey, this will work and this is how it should work. No, no, this is working, so let's do it like this. So okay. So yeah, so
Cool, let's move forward.
yeah. Okay, so now the next question, I think, how should one prepare for this role?
I think
If
we
you they want, yeah,
got it. I think we talked about it sometime. Like, first thing, I'm not a big proponent of certifications. Do get certified if you feel the need for it.
yeah,
If you feel that that structured learning and giving exams is a great way for you to learn something, please take them up. I am by no means shooting them down. But if you are doing it for the sake of getting a logo on your resume, I have personally interviewed people and seen resumes where there's 27 logos.
oh my God,
The pages are full of logos, every possible. So, multi cloud certified architects with every bit of service in there. Now, once you start taking up these exams, and I'm not trying to bash the certifications, I'll come back to your core question. But once you start cracking these exams, you understand how they are supposed to be cracked. And there's a
yeah,
pattern to cracking certification exams. That pattern does not make you an architect, but if you have studied as an architect, giving an exam will add value. So
exactly.
that's what I'm trying to say. So go on and prepare for that. And this is specific to some cloud certifications. But if you are trying to be a very generic solution architect, working in certain domains like ML, I think a lot of things is do understand system design, do understand infrastructure, uh, be very clear with how integrations work. Most people ignore FTP. I would still not do that. File transfers are still a thing. You would be surprised how many companies are still
Yes.
modernizing from mainframes to. Okay, I'll rephrase that. How many companies are still thinking of modernizing from mainframes to a modern tech stack? There's enough in the
True.
world to run jobs for a few years at least from that sense. So do understand your integrations. If you want to specialize on a certain bit of technology, please, I think a structured learning way could be certifications, highly recommended. If you're pursuing enterprise architecture, I think TOGAF helped me a lot. I was trained on it, not from a job perspective, but I think it opened my mind like anything, and gave a very structured way for thinking, which is
Yeah.
business architecture, information architecture, application, and then what was the fourth one?
Technical. Yeah.
Forgot. The ADM cycle basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I would say you can prepare for it. Patterns, infrastructure, interoperability, soft skills, chase problems. Chase problems. That's very very important. Chase good problems. System design. You try to study how different complex systems are built. Yeah, these are some of the skills or
Yeah.
suggestions. I'll say.
I think
So you want to
apart
add
from like
something?
technical, yeah, yeah, I think not add, but I think I will echo what you just said. Like, apart from technical skills, like soft skills are really very much required,
True.
because you need to talk to your stakeholders, and because in the end you're delivering solution for them, you need to communicate, you need to kind of present, you need to kind of uh, get consensus from them before it gets implemented. So I think that also becomes a core in this particular kind of a role. And
Yeah.
I also do feel like certifications are helpful if you are already in that domain. Like, this works for any domain. If you're not in that domain, you do certification, you will forget whatever you do in next 2 months, and you are back to zero, something like that. But yeah, I think
True.
And that's it. I think uh,
We
let's
can call it a day
conclude
or
now.
night.
Yeah,
Cool. I think thank you, Pankaj, for the questions. That was a interesting line, and I think something. It was a good conversation to have with you.
yeah.
For people who have listened, please do put in your questions. If you want more conversations like these, please do put in the chat, and we'll definitely come back. Thank you. Do subscribe to Cafe IO. Bye bye.
Bye.